in our business, everybody says, "Oh, can you give me? I'm going to be an actor. I'm going to do this." Well, you have to do the work. You have to do. Don't expect me to give it to you. I can only do so much, you know. And but a 12-year-old kid wanting to be a filmmaker, that's right there. That's innate ability. And then he or she has to learn that path, their own craft, their own voice, their own journey. And that comes with years. This is a craft. It's like no different than a mechanic or a plumber. You have to learn. You're not going to go in there start learning how to change it. You know, you got to learn how to do your craft. Like in the old days with the blacksmiths and that, and the son and the father, you learn the craft. And it's the same thing, but you have to learn it for yourself. As far as this business, as far as being, there's a lot of people that will hold you down. My father once told me in Spain, he said, listen, because I was always talking about my friends. I was like 8 years old, 10 years old. I said, my friends, my friends. He goes, let me tell you something. He said, you see that? And we always had crabs, you know, in a bucket, but the bucket was always open. And he says, you know why those buckets? I said, why are they always open? And he said, you ever see them get out? I said, no. He goes, you know why they don't get out? And he goes, because as they're climbing and get to the top, someone's pulling them down. He said, that's what you have to be careful of. That's what you have to learn is get rid of the people who are pulling you down, get rid of the people who are going to drain you. And that's how I interpret it. And I think that's what he meant when he told me that. And I was 8 years ago going, really? What was that? You know, what does that mean? But now I understand it. And to answer your question about this business, don't worry about what anybody else is doing. Don't worry about being jealous of, oh, that guy did good, that 8-year-old did better than me. Just worried about yourself because that's a craft in itself, and we all doubt ourselves, especially in the arts, you know. And but that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Learn how to listen to that anxiety because that anxiety is telling you something that you need to learn. Like I spoke with my nephew the other day, and he says, you know, he just bought a house, and he goes, Frank, I wake up every night, I'm making sure I get fear, I get anxiety, I'm gonna lose my house, I gotta make more. I said, well, that's telling you something. I said, don't lose sleep over. Get up, write a note down, and say, what am I gonna do not to lose my house? What can I do better not to lose my house? Learn to work with that because we're filled with anxiety. We're filled with that. There's a great expression in Shogun, where the Japanese Shogun guy says to the Englishman, and who doesn't know anything, you know, and he goes, it's so easy for humans to go to darkness. It's so easy for us to find that negative, but it takes a long time to learn how to come out in the light. And he says it's deep down in there, and you got to fight it every day because your own negativity is going to bring you down. You know, and I thought it was actually it was James Clavell's Shogun. I read it in the book, not the movie, and I always live by that. You know, so when you're thinking negatively, then get up and say, okay, what can I do not to lose my house, or what can I do not to be jealous of this other filmmaker? You're doing it for love. You're doing it for love because that's what you do. I was in New Orleans listening to a musician, and I just got out. I was seasoned director and stuff, and my best friend in college, and I used to, you know, he was my best friend. We used to talk a lot. He was a big mentor myself, and he said to me, he goes, and we're watching a beautiful, I think it was somebody like Bad Company or something was playing in New Orleans for free, you know, in the tip box, and he goes, oh, he does it because he loves it. And I thought about that. I said, yeah, Michael, I said, that's what I would have said in college. But I said, now that I'm in the business and went through it, I said, he's doing it because that's who he is. And that's the answer to that. They're doing it for nothing. It's not they're not doing it for nothing. They're doing it for love. They want to learn. And we all have to go through that. Man, I swept floors. I came up the ranks. I went from film school, got out of film school and realized, I think I'm a director. The reality of filmmaking hit me and nobody's going to give me a shot. So I worked as a PA, I worked as an AD, second AD, all the way up to UPM, line producer, finally writing. I had to learn how to write. I thought I knew how to write. I didn't know how to write. Because you know why? Because I stopped myself, because this is very important, is when I was writing, my early days, when I was just learning how to write, I was writing stories. And I would give it to my friends. I said, read it. Tell me what you think. I didn't mean that. I wanted them to say, oh, this is the next Tarantino. Oh, that's better than Orson Welles. Oh, that's the greatest thing I've ever read. And they came back and said, blood everywhere? What the hell? What are you talking about? It's blood up in the sky? Is blood over here? What I realized is I didn't need approval. Once I stopped seeking approval, then I got down to the craft of writing. And that's when my writing meant something. And that's where the truth comes out. You know? Yeah, so I think that's very important. I see the growth every year, and last year was good. This year's even better. Now we have major actors coming in, major stars coming in, and and I told Bo last night. I was at the Mirror Ball. I was telling Bo, I said, Bo, you're the last man standing, and that's you should be honored about that. I said because what you guys are doing, you're giving back to all of us filmmakers, no matter what age you're at. And that's what I love about this thing, and the people like you and the community that meet people here. And I pulled into town with my daughter Wednesday night because we had to get here early for the Thursday night class. And I said, "Oh, we gotta get something to eat." The only place that was open was the She Shack. I walked in there. There was people from the community there. I walked in. I'm from New York City. The Yankee game was on. I was raised in Chicago. The Chicago Cub game was on, and all these people come up and said, "Frank, you're back. You're back." And it made me feel good. And that's what the community does. That's what I told Bo. That's what you're doing for not only for us. We need voices, man. In today's world, you need outlets. You need. I mean, you need. I'm the overall judge, the best overall judge. So that means I have to see every single film because I don't have one category. I have the overall. I'm telling you, I was very impressed. The shorts this year, the documentaries were so dynamic, and I found the pattern. And these filmmakers. And when I say young, I don't mean age wise. I mean brand new filmmakers. They could be 50, they could be 20, they could be whatever. And I found the pattern. There's a lot of talk about anxiety in these films. There's a lot of talk about fear, and a lot of talk about healing. There's a lot of talk about how we're healing, or how someone's healing, and I don't, and I said that's the pattern here. That's the voices that we're hearing that we got to listen to, and that's so important. That's so important. And I told Bo last night, I said, it's amazing what you're doing. We need that.